is going to be one of the hottest free agencies in a very long time. Some big names up for big contracts this season, and it's going to be a fun one. But it won't be any more fun if the Lions can sign a big name cornerback, and that's what we're hearing right now. Is that the Lions throughout the combine process have been in talks, specifically named one prospect. But they've been in talks, over the cornerback market. And according to Jeremy Fowler, he was quoted as saying that the cornerbacks was a popular position of discussion in Indy, most notably for the trade market. We know that the Chiefs are working on a potential tag and trade with L'Jarius Sneed, and multiple teams are believed to be in the mix there. The word out of Indy is that Detroit is pretty set on adding a high-end corner. So the Lions are the one to watch. And I believe it. I've been reporting on this now for a few weeks that I believe that the way that the Lions are going to go in free agency is back end first with a top tier corner and then start working on the mid tier free agents for the defensive line and then find somebody in the draft to help solidify the defensive line for the future. But how is all of that going to work together? That's the biggest question yet to be answered. And the reason why is that if they are going to target somebody like L'Jarius Sneed, there's definitely going to be a large trade in order to make this happen. And by large, I mean draft picks. And for the Lions right now, with about the seventh most in cap space, they have the room to be able to do it and sign some of their pending free agents this season to big deals. But the cornerback market is sitting right around $19.8 million for the franchise tag. And we can also expect that L'Jarius Sneed is also looking to be paid somewhere in the neighborhood of $18 million per season. However, the Chiefs have let Sneed engage in contract talks or trade talks, being that the Chiefs have already placed the franchise tag on Sneed, and this tag and trade kind of deal that is expected to happen, it's not as easy as one would think. And I looked back at the last 10 seasons and what teams were involved in tag and trade deals, how many players were involved in tag and trade deals, and the number may shock you. It was only 6. And not one defensive back was named. Not one linebacker was named in a tag and trade type of deal. So the 6 deals that I took a look at so that we could try to identify, what do the Lions really need to give up? And I've been quoted as saying that I thought it would take a first and a fifth or a first and a fourth, this year, next year kind of a deal. And I think that we're still in line with something to that effect. It just depends on what the Chiefs are willing to do and what the Chiefs are looking to gain from a tag and trade. And before I go into the 6, tag and trade, deals that have happened, the Chiefs have also been placed under record saying that they are okay moving ahead with the franchise tag and consummating that deal with L'Jarius Sneed, meaning that L'Jarius Sneed would end up playing under a 1-year deal worth about $19.8 million. So when you look at the market, value for players, you have to look at the history, right? There's just not a ton of history to help us identify, where does this deal fit? But I think that there's a couple of names in here that make sense. First, we'll talk about wide receiver Jarvis Landry, 2018. Cleveland had given up a 4th round pick and a 7th round pick, 2018, 2019. So not in the same year. Defensive end Frank Clark, 2019. Kansas City sent a 2019 1st round pick, 2020 2nd round pick, and then a swap with Seattle, 2019 3rd round pick. Why does that matter? Well, Kansas City has experience recently with doing these types of deals. Next on the list, defensive end Jadeveon Clowney, 2019. Seattle sent a 2020 3rd round pick and 2 players, including Barkevious Mingo, to Houston. 2019. So this is one of the trade deals that I'm eyeing for this specific situation. D Ford, 2019. San Francisco sent a 2020 2nd round pick to Kansas City. Again, second time Kansas City's been mentioned in these types of deals in the last 10 seasons, but most notably in the last 5. So they're open to this type of negotiation. They're open to this type of a deal. And I think that's why, it lends to more credibility that L'Jarius Sneed is more than likely not going to play for the Chiefs this season. The next player, defensive end Yannick Ngakoue. In 2020, Minnesota sent a 2021 2nd and a 2022 5th round pick to Jacksonville. And lastly, probably the biggest deal out of all of them, Davante Adams in 2022, the Las Vegas Raiders sent a 2022 1st, 2022 2nd to Green Bay for Davante Adams. So why does this stuff matter? Well, like I was saying, we have to identify a market. We have to identify, what types of picks are given up, what types of deals are being done for this specific type of a trade, because this is a very unique trade. A tag and trade does not happen very often. It is very rare. So I think that, when you look at this, it guides you. And let's pay attention to D Ford and Yannick Ngakoue and those two deals and how it may pertain to a deal with L'Jarius Sneed. One of the bigger things that I pulled out of this, though, or pulled out of all of these deals, is that, pretty good picks were given up for these guys, knowing that you have a big contract coming in. The difference here is with all of those tag and trade deals, all of those players, Sneed is the only one that really lacks any personal accolades. Except for defensive end Frank Clark, he is the only one that has never been to a Pro Bowl. And I know Pro Bowl is kind of meaningless now, but it still helps to identify who are the best players at any given position every single year. Also doesn't have an All-Pro under his belt. So for those reasons, I'm going to put Sneed down a couple of rungs. Now you could say, well, Will, he has a couple of Super Bowl rings. Well, that's a team accolade. That's not a personal accolade. So you can kind of throw that one out the window. So the other thing that I looked at was the, approximate value of these individual players to the team. And all of these players had a better AV than Sneed. Sneed's AV is a 6 in 2023 and even into 2024. And according to Pro Football Reference, those are both imperfect benchmarks, but still worth noting. So very imperfect by ways of, accumulating the data, but they are worth noting when you're looking at these types of situations. So lastly, I don't think that the Chiefs are looking to get Devontae Adams type, money on the deal, so to speak. I don't think that they're looking to get, a first and a second in the same season for L'Jarius Sneed. And if they are, they probably won't move him. I guarantee it. But if he's the, the ceiling, if that's the biggest deal that could get done, what are the deals that make sense? I mean, Sneed's put together some great tape. He's had a couple of great seasons. He's locked down some of the best wide receivers in the league, which is exactly what the Lions have faced this last season and didn't do so well. So the Lions definitely need a player to come in and play, how Sneed has been playing over the last couple of seasons. Even a marginal increase in production would be hugely beneficial to the Lions, especially even in this last season. So, Sneed's put the tape together. He's a great player. How much is he worth? And that's where I came to the comparison of Sneed's draft value as it pertains to this trade. And I compared it to Ngakoue and D Ford. Ngakoue, his deal included a same year second round pick and a following year fifth round pick. You guys have heard me on record saying for Sneed first, this year, fifth, next year. So that's close. D Ford was a lower second round pick. And you have to keep in mind too, that the Lions have a lower round pick because they finished, top 4 in the league this last season. So both of these deals kind of feel appropriate in their own respects. And you could make an argument for either one of them being more accurate. But here's my argument. I think that if the Chiefs want to get a first round pick out of Sneed, they're going to have to put something else into the deal. The team that is acquiring Sneed is going to have to pay a huge dollar amount, whether, it's I think you can trade the franchise tag where the player would actually have to play under the franchise tag. That's a very unique situation, but let's just, throw that out. That's not going to happen. Sneed's going to want a 3-year, probably up to $60 million deal, or a 4-year, $75 million deal. He's going to want a pretty big, deal coming into Detroit or wherever he lands. So for Lions to feel comfortable in doing that, they're going to have to make sure that they're giving up an appropriate amount of picks to feel comfortable with how much of their future they're giving away and how much money they're going to have to spend, knowing that they have, 4, 5, 6 big contracts that are going to have to be signed over the next 18 months. And most notably, you have at least 3 that are going to probably be signed this spring. So if the Chiefs want a first round pick, they're going to need to throw in at least a third round pick is my assumption in 2024. And what that would look like is the Chiefs would get the 29th overall in 24 and a 4th round pick in 2025. And the Lions have 2 4ths next year. And in return, the Lions would get Sneed and the Chiefs' 3rd round pick this season, which would be 95th overall. Look, Sneed's game changer. In the passing game, in the run game, he's got a proven track record, like I said, of locking down some of the best wideouts in the league. But he's also not, a top 5 corner in the league. And so for that reason, I feel if the Chiefs are not willing to throw in anything into the deal, I think that trading Sneed for a second round pick in 2024 is a viable option. And I think that it could be done. And it could be a second and maybe a sixth, or a second and a fifth, is kind of where I'm at. So let me put the stamp of approval on it, I guess. I think that there's two choices here. The Chiefs throw in a third, number 95th overall. The Lions give up 2024 first, 2025 fourth. The Chiefs don't throw anything else into the deal. The Lions will give up a second round pick in 2024 and a fifth round pick in 2025. And I think that the deal could get done. And then I believe that Sneed is probably going to get paid somewhere in the ballpark of, $16 to $19 million per season average. And that's it. I mean, that's the news that we're hearing, that the Lions are looking to sign a lockdown corner through free agency. And I think it's the right move. I think it's a very timely move. I mean, the Lions need to get better in a hurry. They don't have the luxury of, drafting somebody late and hoping that they can put it together before the season starts. It'd be best to bring somebody in, shuffle, Sutton around a little bit, and make it work. I think that anybody that you could pair up with Sutton is going to be probably one of the best defensive back rooms in the league. If you had somebody like Jalen Johnson, L'Jarius Sneed, Kendall Fuller, heck, even Justin Blackmon that comes into Detroit, it's a much improved defense right there. And that'll help the defensive front too. And speaking about the defensive front, look, I think that the Lions are probably going to spend their 29th pick, if they don't trade it for Sneed, on upgrading their defensive line, because that's probably the pick that makes the most sense right now, given, the way that the combine has gone and the way that, some of these picks are going to line up. I think that the defensive front will be easy to find a good talent at pick 29. If the Lions do this deal with Sneed, unless they can, get in for a second round pick, the Lions may not have a first round pick in 2024. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. What do you guys think about, the talk going on at the combine, that the Lions are on the hunt for a lockdown corner? And hey, the days, they're going by quicker and quicker, and we're going to know in less than a week where the Lions are going to end up.